afternoon. I'm the Reverend Eileen Wiviat. I am the minister of this congregation, one of two ministers, along with my colleague, Reverend Susan Francis. As we begin our time of reflection, I ask you to silence your phones and just really be present here in this sacred space for this sacred time. Beloved friends and family, those who loved Alice Swan, we gather this afternoon in our deep grief that one so full of beauty and love has been taken far too soon. And more significantly, we come together at the time of the 51st anniversary of her birth, the time of the spring equinox, to celebrate her extraordinary life. We gather to collect our gratitude for the gift of having time with her on this earth. We join in the midst of our sorrow to acknowledge, too, our thankfulness for the magnificence of life, its fleeting splendor, its infinite mystery, its heartbreaking tragedy, and to call up our collective resilience as we commit ourselves to continuing the legacy that Alice left us, to make the world more wonderful, compassionate, and liberated in whatever ways we can through our profound interconnections and creativities. We are here, too, to provide whatever measure of comfort we can to those who adored Alice most, and I would say all of us adored her. But those that whom she gave her life most lovingly to, her husband Nick, her sons Rex and Enzo, her parents Janet and Craig, and her brother Andrew and his wife Megan. We know that in the weeks, months, and years ahead, carrying on with life without Alice will continue to be painful, almost too much to bear. And yet we know that they will be surrounded with love from everyone whose lives were touched by Alice's spirit. And we reaffirm that commitment today. Alice was mind-blowingly gifted in such a variety of ways. She was an artist through every medium she touched, including cookies to yarn. She was dedicated to justice and lived her values with humility and with passion. She was a loving, engaged mother, a devoted daughter and sister, and a faithful partner and wife. She was a friend, a teacher, the kind of steady leader this world needs more of. She will be missed by all of us in this room and far beyond these walls. As we move into our time of honoring and celebrating Alice's life and fortifying our hearts to continue to carry on her legacy of love, we draw upon the faiths and the philosophies of the ages to inspire and sustain us. We offer our memories and reflections of her to meld into a unity of our most sacred humanness. May we know courage to honestly face death and wisdom to speak openly and compassionately about it. And in this communal mourning, may we be assured of the value of each human life and the permanence of goodness. Henri Nouwen wrote these words on the essential task of loving in the wake of loss. He said, every time we make the decision to love someone, we open ourselves to great suffering because those we love most cause us not only great joy, but also great pain, the greatest pain coming from their leaving. When a child leaves home, when the husband or wife leaves for a long period of time or for good, when the beloved friend departs to another country or dies, the pain of the leaving can tear us apart. Still, if we want to avoid the suffering of leaving, we will never experience the joy of living. And love is stronger than fear. Life is stronger than death. Hope stronger than despair. We have to trust that the risk of loving is always worth taking. I invite Nick and Rex and Enzo to come forward now to light the flaming chalice, symbol of the Unitarian Universalist tradition. The chalice symbolizes the values that Alice lived with integrity, the light of truth, the warmth of beloved community, and the fire of commitment to justice. And as we light, may we be free from suffering. May we be restored to our true natures. May we dwell in the heart of love, and may we be at peace. And now I invite you to rise and join in singing one of Alice's favorite hymns, Gather the Spirit. And you might need to lean in and share with each other using our hymnals. We ran out.
Hello, I'm Megan. I'm Alice's sister-in-law, married to her brother Andrew. And I'm reading this poem on behalf of Enzo. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. But tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?
I've been lucky enough to know Alice over the last 15 years that she and Nick have been members of this congregation. Our kids have been in religious education together. She was on the search committee that led to me being called to this congregation. We've journeyed together in seeking justice and liberation for vulnerable communities and marginalized people. We've been on camping trips and attended events together. We worked on the less than glamorous aspects of congregational life, like the endowment task force. It's as exciting as it sounds. And we've delved into issues of theology and spirituality. I remember a conversation with Alice and Nick. And Nick, you may not remember this, as part of one of our membership classes early on in your time being here. Might have been a covenant group or some other small group, but I remember talking about the word blessing. And I think it was Nick in particular who expressed discomfort or confusion about the word blessing, and maybe Alice agreed. The essence of what rubbed them the wrong way was along the lines of, what does it mean to be blessed? Is there a great invisible hand conferring blessings on some and curses on others? What does this word blessing mean? And I think about these questions every time I use the word, because I do use it. I thought about it when I walked into Alice's hospital room just a few days before she died. And the history of life isn't fair, what Alice went through and the loss Nick and Rex and Enzo have experienced is at the top of that list. It felt impossible to find the blessing in what Alice endured or how quickly she died from something that made no sense that she had. But I want to hold on to the word blessing because Alice was a blessing to this world. She was a blessing to this world, which can be so ugly and mean. She blessed the world with her quiet, steady, creative competence in everything she touched. She blessed the world and everyone she knew with her commitment to making and teaching beauty. I've learned since she died of some of the ways she was creative. Beyond the gorgeous things she knitted and sewed, she taught people to make their own jeans. I learned that she was a figure skater and played the piano. I think it was one of the things that made Nick fall in love with her. Alice was a blessing through her integral support of the institutions and communities that matter. Her loving devotion to her family was a blessing, and the fact that she raised two good and decent and caring men who love and value the earth is a blessing beyond measure. I'm sorry, y'all. Alice was a blessing to everyone who knew her and to many who never had the chance to meet her. Her impact will continue to bless the world. The ripple effects will be felt well beyond the last story and memory of her life is shared. We're going to hear now more from some of the many people who knew and loved her and saw her as a blessing and will illustrate what her life was, is, and will remain. First, Wendell Robinson, the executive director of Restored Justice, who worked with Alice, then Abby Weatherspoon, who became Alice's friend as soon as they moved to Evanston, followed by Astrid Wallen-Fossum, and AJ Frenzel, her high school friend, and finally from her brother, Andrew.
Good afternoon. My name is Wendell Robinson. I'm the executive director of Restored Justice. I had the fortune of working with Alice for 6 years. It has been a lot that has been said about her today. And I just reflect back when Nick called me and asked me to speak at this memorial. I mean, instantly, I said yes. And in that moment, I didn't realize the gravity of what it was that I was undertaking. I was tasked with being able to talk about a person that I worked closely with for 6 years. Her and I built so much together. We laughed together. We cried together. And then just understanding how she touched so many people that came to restore justice. I think one of our bigger tasks, we built an apprenticeship program together. And I seen the special attention that she gave to everyone that came through that program. So this afternoon, I'm gonna let you all in on just a little bit of Restore Justice. So at Restore Justice, we have what I like to consider more of a family type vibe, right? We're family oriented at Restore Justice. So the only way I feel to give Alice some justice in this moment is to share a few stories about some of the things that we went through at Restore Justice. So the first story I'm gonna share is a prank that got played on me. Yeah, Alice and Nick played a prank on me. So when we started working in COVID, the world had changed a whole lot, and we were working virtually, and we was about to go on our Christmas break. And for the most part, the entire time that we were on working virtually, I had been talking to Joby about let's get some hoodies. And Joby, for those that don't know, Joby led Restore Justice. Joby was the founding executive director at Restore Justice. But at this time, I was relatively new, and I was telling Job, like, Job, we need to get some hoodies. We need to get some hoodies. And she like, yeah, whatever, Wendell. So we were about to go on Christmas break, and we were saying our goodbyes, and all of a sudden, everyone went off screen, right? So I'm the only one that's sitting on screen. So when people started coming back on, everybody had a Restore Justice hoodie on, right? So understand that we working remote, and I reside in DeKalb. So I'm like, I know it's a hoodie outside of my door somewhere. All this time I've been telling Job about these doggone hoodies, right? So I go outside and I check. I'm looking around, and I don't see no hoodie. So when I get back to the screen, everybody laughing, right? So Alice holds up my hoodie and was like, Wendell, here's your hoodie right here. And I was like, I'm on my way to Evanston right now to get that hoodie. And when I got to Evanston, as you said, Alice had my hoodie and some cookies. And I think it's just those type of illustrations that like really capture, the caring individual that Alice was, right? And it's not to say that, that we didn't have some difficult times at Restore Justice, right? I've been executive director just over 2 years. And when I came into this role, it was unfortunate. Unfortunate for us as an organization. My predecessor, she fell ill with long COVID. And with her falling ill with long COVID, she couldn't perform her duties anymore. And the board voted me to become the executive director, and it was so new to me. I mean, it was so many challenges, but Alice and I, we pushed through it. We pushed through it in a way where I can remember a time where, and we work in nonprofit, so we understand one of the bigger things with nonprofit is funding. So times had got really lean for us. I mean, extremely lean. I mean, so lean to the point where I was like, Alice, you don't have to pay me. And she was like, Wendell, I ain't gonna get paid either. So it was a few pay cycles that we went through where we didn't get paid, but we wanted to make sure that our people was paid. And I think when you think about just that willingness to kick in whatever way it is, right, it just speaks so much volume to who Alice really was. And it was times like that that drew us, really close to each other. And I so appreciate it so much. Me standing here today, I really didn't know how I was going to get up here and say the words that I needed to say. But I feel like it's some of the things that I am going to say today. I'm hoping that someone hears it and someone needs it, right? So one last story. So in preparation for coming here today, I was saying to my team, like, I wanted to do something really special for the team, right? I'm like, well, maybe we'll get some hoodies. And of course, right, some hoodies. Like, well, maybe we get some hoodies and we could put a really special note on there, about Alice, something that's significant, that signifies, how we feel about Alice, right? So on the left chest, I have Restore Justice, right? And then I was thinking, like, what is it that we can do that, that'd be special for Alice? So I was like, okay, well, let's get somewhere on a hoodie, like, we love Alice, right? So initially I was thinking, like, maybe on the cuff. So I took it in to someone, I live in DeKalb. It's a local business that embroiders, garments. So I took the idea to her, and we couldn't put it on the sleeve. So I'm like, well, let's try a different placement, right? And she's like, all right. She's like, what you thinking? And I'm thinking, maybe just under the hoodie, right? Let's put something really special just under the hoodie that reads, we love Alice. So as we talking, the person that I'm working with telling me about how it is that they work and, just some of their practices. And so one of the things that she said that she does is before she sends anything to production, she do like a sew out. Sew out being putting what it is that you want on some type of fabric, and then you can just place it on the garment and see how it look. And if you want it, cool, she sent it to production. If not, we can, try something different. So this particular time, she didn't do a sew out on it. And she put We Heart ALIS. So understanding how important today is to me, right? Y'all can probably imagine that I was livid, right? But I maintained my composure, right? I maintained my composure. And so we talked about it. And so we came up with a solution. And I think the solution that we came up with is so fortuitous because it signifies so many things, right? In particular, when we're talking about Alice. So the solution was to put We Love ALICE on a patch, right? And put the patch over We Love ALIS. So this is going to be a task for you all, right? It's an action item coming with this. So understanding all the things that have been said about Alice, all the things that she's done, all the people that she's touched, and one of her many passions being sewing, right? So I was thinking, like, if we can come up with a solution to fix ALIS by putting a patch on it, right? I think that can be done in so many other situations. I think oftentimes we talk about how short life is and not valuing people that's a part of our life. And sometimes all it takes is just putting a patch on it. I mean, patch can be significant to grace. Patch can be significant to love. But in this moment, I want us to just uplift what love is. Like, I mean, anybody who Alice touched, I mean, y'all know how she did everything with love. I've had conversations with some of the apprentices, right, that reference my Alice. Like, it's like whatever it was that she was doing for this particular person, it's like, there's no way you could do this. You could love anybody else the way that you love me. I've had apprentices tell me as well, she liked me more than she liked you. But I think, like I say, it just speaks so much volume as to who Alice was, the impact that she had on people's lives. So my task or my challenge to you all, when we look at our lives, and if it's something that we've been dealing with, something that we've been going through, and if it doesn't warrant, if it's not that big, oftentimes we could put a patch on it, y'all. We can definitely put a patch on it. And in closing, I have to say this. I know there's some people here that know we are like smack dab in the middle of March Madness, right? And I'm standing here with a Michigan cap on. And some people don't know that I'm a huge, huge, huge Kansas fan. It's only one place, it's only one reason that I would be representing Michigan right now. And it's, just a big salute to my friend, my colleague, my sister. And can one of y'all come up here with that hoodie? Can one person come up here with that hoodie? Come here. Turn around. And this is my mother, by the way. Put a patch on it.
Hi. I'm just going to read because I can't make eye contact with anyone. Alice was so much to so many, and truly having everyone here today, just looking around, is a perfect illustration. I mean, everyone is interesting and just awesome, and I'm so pleased to see so many people here today. As Wendell said, when Nick asked me to speak today, I went through what I assume, and I now recognize was the standard range of emotions. First, complete gratitude, of course, for being trusted with this. It's a privilege I don't take lightly. Second, fully nervous, and then fully honored. I'm honored to be asked to play a part in today's events. I'm honored to be seen and to be given an opportunity to pause and really reflect on Alice and our friendship. And most importantly, I'm honored to be able to make sure that you get a glimpse of what I saw and experienced through her. It's quite literally the hardest thing I've ever wanted to do. I met Alice at the YMCA preschool here in Evanston. We're both fully entrenched in early motherhood. Me, a first-timer, trying to figure it all out right now, because that's me, right? And her, already a calm, seasoned veteran. I was very lucky to find her when I did, and honestly, so are my children. We became fast friends, doing all the classroom mom things and learning how to love our kiddos fiercely while also watching them find their independence. It was amazing. Eventually, we decided to grab a quick workout together at the Y while the kids were in school. In that short hour or so between school starting and their swimming lessons, she had to be at the pool to make sure Enzo's ears were protected every time. So we only had about an hour, always protecting. So in that short time, we'd do the nuttiest workout I had found that I managed to convince her was gonna keep us strong. And she told me years later that she hated those workouts. And I did too, to be honest, but the time together was truly restorative and just what we needed at the time. The kids eventually split into different elementary schools, Rex and Enzo at Lincoln and my kiddos at King Arts. Sorry, I keep walking away from this. But lucky for me, Alice and I got stuck together. At Lincoln, Alice remained involved, and the involved, loving mom. She never missed an opportunity to participate with the boys. She led Bookery, the holiday fair. She was a room parent, all with goals to make the school days the absolute best they could be for the kids and their teachers. You can bet if your kiddo went to Lincoln Elementary here in Evanston, both the kids and you benefited from her being there in the most creative and special of ways. She was committed. And not to worry, our workouts did evolve over the years into something we actually did both enjoy and look forward to. We tried it all while the kids were at school. At some point through our friendship, we ran together. We did yoga, kickboxing, whatever class at the Y it looked like we should try it. We did. At one point, we thought Zumba looked fun, and it was very fun. We did that for a really long time. My point is that we could try anything together, love it, hate it, change it, but always be experiencing some of life together. Our epic Sunday walks along the lakefront brought us regular opportunity to share and laugh and commiserate and solve all the world's problems. Whether we were feeling good and moving quickly or slowed by sickness or aches and pains we pretended didn't really exist, our walks were seamless. We knew our route. We never bumped into each other, and we chatted from start to finish every time. I promise I will still check in on all our regulars that we saw every week and giggle at the dogs in clothes or how adorable it is when dogs do actually look a little bit like their owners. If it's not obvious by now, it was never really about the workout, but about the time together. We were literally and figuratively walking through our lives together, growing and exploring what it means to be a mother and a partner, a strong woman and a friend, always honest and supportive, telling you not only what you wanted to hear, but a lot of the times what you needed to hear. Alice shared with me trips to the opera when Nick was out of town, introduced violin lessons to our family, took me on road trips to visit Woody at Illinois Rivers, all things I would have never experienced without her influence in the most gentle of nudges out of my comfort zone. She saw you and wanted you to share her joy. I knew always to say yes when she asked me to do something with her. Finally, she brought me new friends that I cherish deeply. Making connections and bringing people together was truly one of her superpowers. I could go on and on. Alice, you were a patient, loving, steady presence that we will all miss every day for the rest of our lives here on earth. I am honored to call you my friend. We are all so lucky we got to live in a world where you were among us. Thank you.
For those of you I haven't met, my name is Astrid, and I am Nick's older sister. When Nick and Alice began dating, the first person who was bestowed the honor of meeting Alice was our little old Nana. Being of Estonian tradition and quick wit, a little shy of 5 feet tall, she really took it upon herself to fully inspect Alice so she could report back to the rest of us who this woman was, what she looked like, what she sounded like, what she acted like. I'm so glad that Alice understood the place that Nana was coming from was a good one, because I think she probably removed her glasses, inspected her from head to toe, and took detailed notes in her mind about every physical characteristic Alice had. She probably had her turn around and twirl even, and we're also thankful that Alice put up with that test and became part of our family. I'm not clear on the timing of all of these events, but I think it was the same summer that Alice had a terrible accident in Baltimore. She took on a bus. She rose victorious from all of this, but shortly after that accident, Alice went on one of the wonderful Swan hiking adventures with Craig, Janet, and Andrew. And Nick met Alice to drive her back to the Midwest, as she was unable to hike full-time because of her injury. On their road trip, they stopped to visit me, and I got to know Alice a little better. There were some things that came out during that time that I just kind of laugh at now. Alice told me that she didn't like coleslaw. I've always joked about that in my mind. A few years later, on one of her birthdays, when Nick and Alice lived in Minneapolis, we were talking on the phone, and Nick was grilling brats, and they were having coleslaw. I knew they were a good influence on one another because she encouraged my brother also to expand his culinary adventures, and she got him to eat tomatoes, cooked carrots, and even olives. But over the years, our relationship changed. We were young once, traveling together in Italy, going to Jimmy Buffett concerts, and I watched the two of them grow from a couple without children to a couple parenting and building their family. When Rex was born, it was hard for everyone because they were so far away from us in Washington and Idaho. Janet and Craig had been out west to visit Nick and Alice right after the birth, and I think I went out about a month later. My poor little nephew was in his car seat with his head tipped to the side, and I just had to butt in. It's like, oh, you need to roll up a blanket and stick it here so he doesn't have some neck relapse. And that's just kind of how we were together, you know, helping one another along the way. But it was when Alice became a mother that I saw firsthand just how strong she had become. She had amazing talents, and she kept a home full of love and learning. She took so much care in giving her time to others by making stuffed animals, books, blankets, shawls, quilts. Rex, Enzo, and my children, John, Will, and Julia, are recipients of an amazing high school graduation gift. Quilts for each of them, each uniquely beautiful, just like them. She made her own clothing and clothing for others. Baby hats, scarves, socks, sweaters. The most beautiful sweater I've ever seen in my entire life is on that back table. It's my brother's Northwestern sweater. Every single stitch that went into making that was a gift. And that's how Alice approached everything, with love and intention. Alice was an avid gardener, and she enjoyed spending time outdoors. She had two favorite wildflowers of the Midwest, the lady's slipper and the trillium. There is an Ojibwe legend about the lady's slipper. In a village, there was a young maiden whose older brother was given the task of messenger, traveling on foot between villages to share and bring back messages. While he taught his sister all of his skills on survival, exploration, and navigation in the forest, he never took his sister with him when he raced to relay news. On a particular winter day, one of the women in the Ojibwe village became sick, and the next day, several other members of the community fell ill. The elders knew that in one of the villages across the bay, there was a skilled healer, so the chief asked the brave to prepare to cross the lake. That night, the brave himself became ill, and the girl decided that she had to make the dangerous trek. As she headed out, she was dressed in her warmest parka, leggings, fur-lined moccasins, everything that had been sown so carefully by her mother and grandmother. She started walking through the deepening snow to the lakeshore and was soon scrambling over a slippery rock and ice to reach the other side. She made it across, and the healer gathered herbs and gave them to the maiden, insisting that she sleep through the night and return in the morning. However, when the wind stopped, the maiden decided to take it upon herself, much as I think Alice would do, and went right away, understanding the urgency. On her return, she sank deeply into the snow, and exhaustion was beginning to take over as conditions had worsened. But then she remembered the lessons from her brother, and slowly, she began to swim through the snow itself. When the maiden reached the shore, her feet were red and raw. She was missing her moccasins, and the snow was marked with footprints of blood. The village cared for her, and the medicine that she brought from the healer saved her community. As I recently read this legend, I realized how much of Alice's spirit is in that bravery, that headstrong love she had for her family, her dedication to her community, and the care she gave us all. The trillium, the second of Alice's favorite wildflowers, is found in the spring on the soft forest beds of the Midwest. Trillium are built on a very interesting and intricate root system, a system like Alice's family and Nick's family. Craig and Janet, being such wonderful parents, opened the world for Andrew and Alice through travel, adventure, nature, museums, and books. Alice grew her strong stem from their love, deeply rooted in a lifetime of learning and craft. She believed in justice, and she believed in fighting for people that deserve to be lifted up, those who deserve to be given a second chance. She dedicated her time through advocacy and projects here at church, as well as through political venues, a couple summers ago volunteering at the DNC. In her day-to-day work at Restore Justice, her commitment and her steadfast determination and organization helped ground the mission and vision of the foundation. Opening her home to friends for parties, Northwestern tailgates, and a few amazing little doggies throughout the years brought her joy and fed our bellies. Alice gave care over the years to my parents, her mother and father-in-law, Lena and Bob Wallen, cooking meals, baking amazing desserts, organizing all of their technology, and helping to declutter a lifetime of collecting. She helped me a few years ago when I went through the hardest challenge of my life. I will miss her calm nature, her realistic demeanor, and her clarity amidst chaos. I will miss our time together at the cottage in Mackinac, a place Alice grew to love, enjoying sunsets, swims, bonfires, and meals on the deck. When I think about the 3 perfect petals of the trillium, these are the parts of Alice that show us every day that life continues. In Nick, in Rex, and in Enzo. Rex and Enzo, avid scouters and Eagle Scouts, have spent summers at their beloved Camp Makajawan. As a scout leader, Nick went on many trips with the boys, and one summer, I think being a little tired of being left out, Alice just sewed herself her own Boy Scout uniform. And she went on what I would call some crazy adventure, week-long backpacking with a scout troop. Now that's truly a wife and mother's love, supporting her petals in what brings them joy. Going back to that Ojibwe legend, the spring after the maiden had made her journey, she and her brother were searching along the woods and along the lakeshore in hopes of finding her moccasins. They didn't find them, but what they found instead
was a trail of beautiful slippered flowers. The legend is that every flower grew from a drop of blood that had fallen from the maiden's feet on her mission to save her people. And the Ojibwe named the flower Makisin Wabiguan, which we call today the lady's slipper. I hope to see a lady's slipper this spring. I hope you do as well. Maybe it will be in the pine or deciduous forests of Upper Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois, or Wisconsin. And when you do, remember Alice's bravery, her love, and her commitment to family and community. And know that a piece of her still blooms, connecting all of us across time.
When Nick asked me if I would like to speak here, I went through some different emotions first. Wait a second. It's gonna be good later. My first reaction was, oh, me, I don't think so. I'm sure Alice has no end of eloquent friends to tell beautiful stories. Let me think about it. And 5 minutes later, I came back and said, what I meant to say was, of course, I would be absolutely honored. I met Alice sometime in 9th grade through our friend Tanya, who is here somewhere. And I would say we were not fast friends. We were slow friends. It didn't happen right away. It happened over the next few years of Spanish classes and gym classes and after-school shenanigans. And then carpools and road trips and singing in the car. Alice brought the Eagles and Cream tapes. I'd say Tanya brought Harry Belafonte, and I brought Bob Marley and the Violent Femmes for our mutual musical education of the early 90s. Coming into this beginning of our senior year, maybe the very end of 11th grade, I had this moment of realization that now, okay, we're the top grade in the school. What are we gonna do with no one to look up to? And Alice had the solution. She said right away that she could look up to me because I was 8 days older than her. And I could always look up to her because she was 4 inches taller. And in that moment, it would have totally ruined the bit if I had stopped to say, actually, there's a lot more reasons than your height that I have to look up to you. For example, there was her handwriting, right? It was very distinctive and beautiful. It was neat and legible, while also soft and bubbly. She used it generously to write letters, to maybe pass notes in class. And there was also her hair. We all admired Alice for her amazing hair. And there was the fact, of course, that she was on the math team, and she was a figure skater, and she played piano, and she sewed her own clothes, even in high school. And this was all before our senior year. And in our senior year, somehow, we got registered to take a ballroom dance class at the University of Minnesota. And if Alice were here, she would remind me of the impetus of that adventure that we that we embarked on. I really don't remember. But she would remember with a story that probably included an impersonation of our professor and beloved drill instructor, literal drill instructor, Mrs. Lampy, with some cute voice and a smile and a laugh. And we talk about the characters that we met in our practice dances and in our treks out to the classic Bellray Ballroom, where we danced with folks who were, at that time, probably 4 times our age, 3 to 4 times our age, over and over. And I would tell Alice, thank you, not just for the reminder, but for being there for that adventure, probably starting it out together. Even though I don't remember what my part was, we got there together, and we kept going together. And would I have gone over and over, week after week, to dance with these characters without Alice? Probably not. And would then I have become a dancer as a profession? Probably not. And, the sad part would be with that is maybe she wouldn't have had the opportunity to add ball gowns and flamenco dresses to her sewing portfolio. But she did, and they were amazing. I don't know if my ball gown or my wedding dress was the favorite creation that Alice made. Or the rainbow striped sweater that she knitted for my first baby. The ballroom dance college, because this we did during high school, I had that community that she had helped build. So when she went off to college, we all missed her together, but I didn't feel alone. And going off to Michigan, I was able to say, hey, I know somebody in Michigan who's really awesome. You should call her. And Erica is here today somewhere. Dear, dear friends. Building community together. And then when I moved to Brooklyn, jumping back and forth here, she was able to say, hey, I know somebody in Brooklyn. Maybe you've met her. Were you guys friends? Did you know? Well, now we do. And we became community. This generosity of Alice knowing you so well, right? And being with you, and I must be her favorite. And this person is also her favorite, and you are also her favorite, and you are also her favorite. I know this because she shares the stories. We hear about each other in this generous way. growing into adulthood, there were, of course, many more ways to look up to Alice. She and Nick got married 9 months before I did, so she was older than me in married years. She was, I think, 3 years older than me in mom years, and came to visit when my first little one was born, with this warmth and generosity, again, that she could help without pushing, right? There was an honest and true sharing of who she was as a person that came out in every interaction we had. We had, right? Whether you knew Alice for 40 years or 4 weeks, you knew Alice. Maybe you didn't know some of the things that we've shared up here, but I bet none of it actually surprises you. That steady ease, the humble confidence, and the faithful friendship is going to stay with all of us. Even if the memory of the actual stories aren't clear now. I'll keep telling stories about Alice. And I hope to hear yours too.
Hello. For those of you who I don't know, or who I haven't had a chance to meet, I'm Alice's brother, Andrew. I live in California now. I just flew into Chicago a couple days ago, and as I was coming through the airport, I had one of these moments where I passed through part of the airport and had this feeling of, I was just here. I was here in Chicago in August. I had a brief visit with Nick and the boys and Alice. And I was so struck in that moment that in August, this was before anything happened. She was healthy, and that was barely more than 6 months ago. So much has happened. It happened so fast. My mind is still spinning from just how quickly all of that happened. But in spite of that, I've spent a lot of time recently just thinking about her, remembering her. I don't have any big stories to tell you about her. I wish I did, but instead, my memories of her are like the pictures I've been looking at, lots of little small moments and snapshots. So I want to share a few of those with you. Lots of little memories when we were kids, playing together. She had this huge collection of stuffed animals that I was always envious of that we played with all the time. We spent a lot of time outside in Minnesota too, sledding on the hill in front of our house, ski trips with our parents that I have great memories of. When we were a little bit older, our parents took us camping and backpacking. I think other people have talked a little bit about that, but the backpacking, I have lots of great memories of these backpacking trips. We tried to keep keep backpacking once we sort of had grown a little bit older, although we appear to have been cursed in that way. A few years after we both graduated from college, my father and Alice and I we planned a big multi-week backpacking trip. We were very excited for it. It took a lot of planning. We got out on the trail, and my dad got blisters on his feet, which happens while you're backpacking. Unfortunately, they got infected, and it got worse and worse to the point where he just couldn't hike anymore. We were out in the backcountry, and we had to make our way back to the trailhead and get him to the hospital and get his feet taken care of and cut the trip short. And then a few years later, Nick and Alice and I went on a trip in California. We had a terrific trip. I think we were out for a week. We climbed Mount Whitney, or as an enthusiastic hiker we met on the trail said, we summited Mount Whitney. Anyway, we were coming back down to the trailhead after that, and Alice slipped and fell and got a big gash over her eye. And again, we had to get out to the trailhead and get her to the hospital and get her taken care of. But in spite of, that was the last time that I went backpacking with her, went camping with her. But in spite of that, these couple of incidents didn't really dampen her enthusiasm for camping, and she went on with Rex and Enzo to have a great love of backpacking and have many more memorable trips after that. So I'm glad that my experiences with her didn't cut into that. Anyway, these small moments as children, if I have to pick any theme out of that, the thing that it all adds up to for me is just we had such a happy childhood. And I don't know if I ever said this to you, and I'm sure if she was here, she would say this, but thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Mom and Dad. As other people have talked about, she had lots of other interests too. She played the piano, she was an ice skater. Horseback riding was another big passion of hers. One little anecdote about horseback riding that's always stuck with me. We were on a trip in the Southwest. I don't remember exactly where we were, one of the national parks, and we went out on a horseback riding trip, and we got into the stable where the people that worked there were picking out a horse for each person to ride, and the guy said to Alice, well, have you ever ridden a horse before? And Alice said, oh yes, I got my horseback badge at Brownie Camp, and I've gone to camp for the last 2 years, and I'm gonna go again next year, and blah, blah. And so the guy said, okay, and he put her on this horse, and as soon as she got on it, the horse walked out of the barn and took off, and the guy had to go run after her and bring it back and say, I thought you said you knew how to ride a horse. I like to remind her of that story. She didn't like it so much. So, okay, anyway, switching to sort of our adulthood after some of those childhood memories. The thing that I think about with Alice is, even though she was my younger sister, she was ahead of me in so many ways. She got married 9 months before AJ. She got married 9 years before I did. I had kids after she did. But I always looked up to her, just how she did everything. It was little things like, when we were younger, she would bring her own bags to the grocery store before everybody did that, and the checkers would look at you funny for doing it. But it was little things like that, but also just how she was with Nick, how she was as a parent, and just more generally how she lived her life, the way that she didn't overthink things, didn't make things harder than they needed to be, and she centered everything on just deep kindness and compassion for everybody that was around her. So I've looked up to her at all these different phases of life, and that's something that I'm gonna miss deeply as in future phases of life, is watching her and looking up to her. One other thing I want to highlight about her is, and I'm sure many of you in this room have been on the receiving end of this, she was the most thoughtful gift giver that I have ever met. And I could give you a long, long list of examples, but I want to give you one specific one. When it was our parents' 50th wedding anniversary a few years ago, I was racking my brain. What's a good gift? You know, they're at the age where they don't want things. What's something that we can do for them? Alice called me up and said, I've got a great idea for an anniversary present for Mom and Dad. we are going to commission one of our musician friends to write a song, and you can play the piano for them, and Nick will sing the song, and that'll be our gift for them. And that is just such a unique and thoughtful and personal gift, and I think probably many of you have other examples of similar things that she's done, but that just, I think, is sort of the essence, of who Alice was. So, yeah, just to wrap up, I mean, I think, my time with her was just one facet of a really deep, rich life, and I'm so grateful to get a chance to meet some people from all the other communities that she's found and become part of. The community here in this church, her parent groups, the sewing community, folks at Restore Justice, and many, many others. I'm just so glad that you were all part of her lives and that she loved you and you were loved by her the same way as it was for us. Thank you.
I just want to close the time of reflections. Thank you for all of those heartfelt memories, and it was very moving to know her better through all of you. I was asked by Alice's dad to read his words of love from he and Alice's mom, Janet. He wrote, when Alice and Nick were married, they asked me to say a few words of welcome, and among those words were these. For many fathers of the bride, their only speaking role is limited to saying, "Her mother and I do." If this is interpreted as a blessing, her mother and I do with joy and enthusiasm. Interpreted literally, Alice is not ours to give. Alice alone can give her heart to someone else of her own free will, and Nick, she had given it to you. As her father, I ask only that you treat it tenderly with love and respect as she will yours. And this was their marriage, one of love and respect, one that has ended all too soon, but one that will be remembered forever. close this time with this blessing by Irish poet John O'Donohue. Though we need to weep your loss, you dwell in that safe place in our hearts where no storm or night or pain can reach you. Your love was like the dawn brightening over our lives, awakening beneath the dark a further adventure of color. The sound of your voice found for us a new music that brightened everything. Whatever you unfolded in your gaze quickened in the joy of its being. You placed smiles like flowers on the altar of the heart. Your mind always sparkled with wonder at things. Though your days here were brief, your spirit was alive, awake, complete. We look toward each other no longer from the old distance of our names. Now you dwell inside the rhythm of breath, as close to us as we are to ourselves. Though we cannot see you with outward eyes, we know our soul's gaze is upon your face, smiling back at us from within everything to which we bring our best refinement. Let us not look for you only in memory, where we would grow lonely without you. You would want us to find you in presence, beside us when beauty brightens, when kindness glows and music echoes eternal tones. When orchids brighten the earth, darkest winter has turned to spring. May this dark grief flower with hope in every heart that loves you. May you continue to inspire us to enter each day with a generous heart, to serve the call of courage and love until we see your beautiful face again in that land where there is no more separation, where all tears will be wiped from our mind, and where we will never lose you again. With tenderness and reverence, Alice's body, which housed her spirit, has returned to the natural elements from which she came, and now to our hearts remembering, we commend her spirit. There we shall hold in sacred recall our memory of her. If there be any words unsaid or forgivenesses withheld, may we find a way back to peace, though she is no longer physically here with us. And as we hold the picture of Alice in our mind's eye and her memory in our hearts, let us take a moment to send our love and blessings to her in silence. We give thanks for the life of Alice Swan, who took her place among us and whose life is now fulfilled. We are thankful for her beautiful spirit, which touched the lives of all those near her. We give thanks that Alice was and is a part of the common life. The truth of her life endures, for it is woven into the fabric of the larger life of which we and she are all a part. Mindful of our own mortality and of the value of life, may we here and now resolve to live a little more closely to our values, to care a little more deeply for others, to risk a little more often, to create something beautiful in whatever medium. And on this day, may we tell someone very clearly that they are valued, that they are loved. This is one of the most powerful ways that we can honor Alice. If you would, please rise in body or spirit and join now in singing our closing hymn, number 412, in your hymnals. Let hope and sorrow now unite. invite Nick and Rex and Enzo to return to the chalice to extinguish its light, knowing that we carry it in our hearts always. And as they do so, I will share this poem by poet May Sarton. Did someone say that there would be an end to love and mourning? What has been once so interwoven cannot be raveled, nor the gift ungiven. Now the dead move through all of us still glowing. Mother and child, lover and lover mated, are wound and bound together and unflowing. What has been plated cannot be unplated. Only the strands grow richer with each loss. And memory makes kings and queens of us. Dark into light, light into darkness spin. When all the birds have flown to some real haven, we who find shelter in the warmth within listen and feel new cherished, new forgiven, as the lost human voices speak through us and blend our complex love, our mourning without end. And as we conclude this time to celebrate Alice's life and mourn her loss, let us take forward our commitment to keep loving boldly and courageously in her name, knowing we will grieve what we most cherish, but that it is only love that makes life meaningful. You're invited to join a reception at the end, and I want to add two things before we depart. And one is, there was supposed to be on the back of your programs an invitation to contribute to Restore Justice in Alice's name. So I hope that you will do that when you leave here today. Go to Restore Justice, give a gift in Alice's name. I think that would mean so much to her and to her family. And there is an innumerable amount of yarn on the table as you leave today. If you are a knitter or a crocheter or a fiber artist of any kind, if you could take that yarn, and this is critical, that you make something with it and use that to remember her and to add beauty to the world in her name. Thank you for being here today and for sharing the stories of Alice, and please continue to do so and remember her.